Awesome. First things first, thank you very much for taking the time to talk to me. I really appreciate it.
Dude, so welcome. Thanks for talking with me. Thanks for
Okay.
caring.
I cannot stop at this point. um, I guess it's tough to figure out really where to start when it comes to talking with your new album. I feel like
Yes.
it's simultaneously all over the place, but also very focused. If what,
Uh-huh.
how would you describe it to someone if you had to describe Skeleton Youth Forever?
Um, I don't know. That's a hard question for me to answer, and I wrote it. Um, I think I'd have to, if I had to describe it, um, I'd kind of describe it as like just a musical representation of how my brain works, and also um, kind of it's kind of like a social commentary about like love and how you care about things, like how like um, there's a twisted way that you care about things
Yeah,
sometimes, and like I don't know if you like if you notice, there's a lot of like love sounding songs on the whole record,
definitely.
but none of them are like any actual love songs. Like every time I say the word like you on the song, like it's always it's not referring to a person, or it's always referring, other than with love, warmth, and innocence. Those are like three songs that are like kind of all tied in together. But every other song that where I say you, um, I'm always referring to like either like our fan base, Skeleton Youth, or I'm referring to the band itself and how like the band, like the whole thing is kind of like it's me like being really, really, really in love with something that like is essentially an inanimate object that I made up, you
Yeah.
know,
All right.
and that's
So I guess it seems like listening to it, there's one theme, and it's sort of, I guess it's a stupid question given the album's name. But
mhm.
more than anything, the word forever seems to come up in just about every song, if it isn't in every song.
Oh, it is. I think it happens like 27 times, something like that, some number like
I
that.
think you tweeted about it at one point, yeah, but like listening to it, it's everywhere. And how do you
Yeah.
think when you were writing the album, was that an intentional thing that you wanted to keep kind of like lacing into the
Oh,
song
yeah.
structure?
Yeah. I wanted it, like I said, like it's kind of all over the place. It deals a lot with like how I feel, and like how it feels weird to be like in love with like such an inanimate object, and it's also kind of I wrote it at a time where I was like feeling a little like having a bit of like an existential crisis. Like I didn't know really what like my purpose was. Not to say that
Hmm.
anyone really has one or is supposed to know. But I wanted to. I was like wondering, like because like at the end of the day, like nothing lasts forever, and that's what always like I tell myself when I'm like upset, and that's what I tell other people. Like when you're upset, it's not going to last forever.
Yeah,
Um, but I wanted to do my best to make something that would last forever, and so I kind of like it's me like questioning like what actually does last forever, and then also creating something that's going to last for forever for me, if that makes sense.
definitely. Besides Love, Warmth, and Innocence, is there one song on the album that really stands out to you and means the most to you?
Um, it's hard. I all of them do in like a very, but they all do in like a different way. At least like lyrically, a Bitter Romantic 3 is probably my favorite like um, piece of writing I've ever done. Like it's my favorite like way I've written, and like like I just think that the way it flows as a song and as like lyrically, it works really well. But I think the most honest song on the whole record would be SYF. Like the
Yeah,
most like real like collection of thoughts I have that I don't think I've ever gotten to tell anyone. Like that's the most like really like heartfelt and like kind of painfully heartfelt things I've ever admitted. Um, so I really like those ones. Inseparable is another huge favorite of mine. Um,
Inseparable that song gets me every time.
yeah, I love that one a lot because I think it deals a lot with like, it's kind of like it's about how like sometimes like even when you're sad, like it feels good to feel sad.
Yeah,
You
because at
know?
least you're feeling something, you know?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So it's at one point every single song on this record has been my favorite song of the record. So it's hard to pick a favorite,
I can definitely understand that.
especially going through like it was like a 9 month long recording process, and then it took me 3 months to write it, so it's a whole year. And so like as we were going, like there was always times where I was just like, oh, dude, this is my favorite. This is my favorite. You know, like they're all over the place.
Yeah.
You know.
Speaking about recording it, how was it working with Sam Botner?
Oh, it was awesome. It felt right to go back to Sam after like recording 20s. It was awesome. You know, it was with Cody, so it was like super fun.
Yeah.
But going with Sam felt really right because like he did the Extortion Code, and he did a single Presage, and so it kind of just felt like fitting to be recording with him again. And also he's like such a good friend of ours that it was just like it was a fun experience. And he's also like he's someone who I respect musically like so much. He's like he's a wonderful musician, and he's like such a good producer into it, and he's got so many like outlandish and crazy ideas that like and this record was so funky and weird to begin with that like it just felt right to like go with such a funky and weird guy, you know.
I mean he's an outrageous guy. I love him to death.
Well, yeah, same.
I guess before I kind of move on from talking about the album, there's one track in particular I want to kind of pick your brain about, and that's Villains. Without giving anything away about the song, how do you think that relates to where Youth Forever is now? Like, when you were going into writing and recording that song, it seems almost as if you're kind of putting Villains sort of, in the past.
Yes. I'm sorry, you cut out for a bit of that question.
Okay.
Specifically the first half of it. I got the second half.
All right, cool. The first half was really, and I don't want to give anything away about the song because it's a doozy. But
it's a doozy.
How do you think that relates to where Youth Forever stands now? Is it really like you guys formally moving on from the name Villains?
I think so. Yeah, I think it's us moving on in in a mature way. I think like I don't know, like I feel like there's a lot of people who are really stuck on the whole Villains thing, and they're doing it in a very immature way. And it's our way of kind of being like, hey man, like we loved being Villains too. Like if it was up to us, like we would have never had to change the name. But we're still the same. It's my way of kind of saying like we're still the same band. Like don't forget that just because you changed the name, but also quit being such a big weenie about a name change. You know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely. That's I guess for those who might be watching this and don't know what happened, would you care to fill us in on the whole, name change situation?
Oh yeah, I'd love to. Pretty much one day, about a year ago now, actually, we just got an email from another band called The Villains, who had the word villains trademarked, because when you get a trademark, you can't trademark the word the, so they have to trademark the word villains. And everybody was like, oh, dude, they're the villains. Your guys are villains. You could just change it. Fight it. Yeah, get a lawyer. But, like, everyone saying that, like, I don't think realizes how much that would have cost us to do something that didn't even really matter that much, Yeah. And, like, they clearly wanted the name. They trademarked it. They beat us to it, and so we had to change it. And so then we changed it to Youth. And when this was all going down, there was, like, a lot of the label was kind of like all over us, and like our managers, they were like, you guys need to figure out a name like right now, like they could sue us at any moment, like we need to figure this out. And so we were like, okay, Youth, but with like the little umlaut. And then we announced that. We were like, all right, we're Youth, what's up? And then I had assumed that the label had like, not to throw any shit at the label, they didn't do anything wrong, it was a stressful time for everyone, but yeah. I had assumed that someone had gone and made sure that name wasn't trademarked anymore. And it turns out that name was trademarked, because Y-O-U-T-H is the same thing as Y-U with an umlaut T-H. Like, there's no difference phonetically or sonically, so you can't, like, still be the same thing. So we had to add Forever, which made sense. And that is how we got to the name now, and I think it makes sense. Like, I think that we, like, in terms of what we are as a band, we never talked about, like, anything, like, villainous, like...
Yeah.
Even, like, the Extortion EP, which is, like, a little bit, like, darker or more about, like, whatever... even that stuff was more like, it was still kind of like we were talking about ourselves, and we're all like a bunch of youthful boys, and this is like us kind of making our legacy, like I was talking about, which is why where the Forever comes from. And yeah, that's our name.
All right. And you've been with Prosthetic now for call it a year, I guess.
Hmm.
How's working with them been?
It's been awesome. I mean, like, it's really cool. Like, it's always been a dream of mine and all of ours to be on a label. So to be like on a label that like had like Lamb of God and like the Acacia Strain and like all these huge bands that I like listened to growing up was
Yeah,
like honestly surreal. And it's cool to be able to like have people that like genuinely support you and like really care. That's the thing is that like we had like some other label offers, but Prosthetic was the only one that like seemed like they genuinely cared about the music and like really cared about like us moving forward as a band, which really felt. I don't know. I didn't want a label to sign us because they wanted to make money off of us. Like I wanted a label to sign us because they believed in us,
yeah,
and that's how it felt with them.
yeah.
So it's been awesome.
You wanted to share the same passion for music that you guys have, and that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, exactly.
Um, Working with Prosthetic, and you've got this album coming out in under a month now. Is there anything you've got
Hmm.
lined up for the rest of the year? Tour wise. You know,
Yeah, we got a little tour. We leave on a little like 4 day tour or weekend or whatever you want to call that in a few days with Roads of Glass,
all right.
and then we got some stuff brewing for the summer. We're doing some things.
So you're going to be hitting the road, and you'll be out and about.
Yeah, we'll be out and about. Our fans be able to see us.
Awesome. Um, are there any plans to? I have to ask this. I've got too many friends who collect vinyl and tapes and CDs not to ask this. Are there any plans to press Skeleton Youth Forever for vinyl or tape?
I would love to, but I don't know if it's in the budget for the record. If it does well enough, and maybe like I don't know, maybe in the future we could press it, but I don't know. I think right now what we were gonna doing is just CDs. We might do some tapes. I'm not sure. That's not like a
Yeah,
official thing, but you know, that's a maybe. It's all a maybe, but for sure CDs.
definitely. All right. Sweet. So last time I talked to you about Freudian Slip, and this was a long time ago.
Hmm.
I asked you to describe the album in one word. How would you describe Skeleton Youth Forever in one word?
Yeah, that's a hard question.
Yeah, isn't it? Yeah.
I It's such a hard question. I think what did I say for instance? Passionate, something like that,
Passionate.
right?
Yeah.
Emotion. Yeah. Okay. See, like I feel I want to say that word too, but I also want to say funky. So I'm gonna say functionate, and
All
just
right.
that's a word I made up right now. It's
Functionate.
functionate.
Oh, there it is.
Okay. Yeah.
All right. And I'm going to finish it up with one kind of off the wall question.
All right, smack me. I'm ready. Let's do it.
All right. I just got to pull it up because I want to get it right when I ask you.
Okay, I'm ready.
Okay. So let's assume that for whatever reason, there are two movies made about your life. Or you could
Okay.
even say, for example, two movies made about youth forever, if it's easier to answer the
Okay.
question that way.
Okay.
The first movie is kind of an independent documentary that has mostly commentary from people you know personally, your friends and
Hmm.
family, and they are all brutally honest. They're not
Hmm.
mean, but they're very fair.
Okay.
The movie is released and it does pretty well, doesn't get much attention. At the same time, like a big movie production company, it's like Columbia,
Okay.
they make a movie about Youth Forever, or, Devon and Youth Forever.
Okay.
And they hire big actors to play you and all the boys. They have, interviews from all these, big people about how you affected their life. And, it's based on true stories and stuff like that, but all the liberties are kind of expanded. So the things that you really
Uh-huh.
succeeded at are huge, but your failures
Okay.
are real big failures.
Uh huh.
The movie's released, and the audience loves it, but critics are well aware that half of it is bullshit.
Okay.
Which movie would you rather see if you could only see one?
Would I rather see me
Yeah, you
personally?
personally.
Um, I think that as much as I would love to see like Snoop Dogg playing Trevor on the big screen, I would probably go with the first one because I think it'd be interesting and humbling, and also a little, put me and all of us in our place a little bit to see a movie about what everyone really thinks about us. And I think it'd be nice. It'd be a lot nicer to look back on when I'm older, rather than like looking back on a movie that, you know, is loosely based around a story that could be anybody else's story. You know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely.
So, shouts out to the truth. I like to go with the truth.
All right, cool. That's
Awesome.
just about everything I have.
Sweet.
I really, again, I can't thank you enough. It's a huge honor for me personally, as like an enormous fanboy and everything. But
Shut your mouth. It's an honor for me to be talking to you.
all right, thank you very much, man. Have a great afternoon.
Yeah, you too. Thank you.
Yeah.